Thousands of people come out into the streets of Srinagar, the main city in Indian-administered Kashmir, in protest against arrest of local youths. Police detained at least 20 young people for throwing stones in earlier protests. Tear gas was fired to disperse crowds of angered protesters who chanted anti-India, pro-freedom and Islamic slogans. Hundreds more joined in anti-India protests in nearby Budgam. So far, 61 people have died in similar protests over the past 2 months as a result of clashes with armed parliamentary soldiers. The unrest shows no sign of easing despite the deployment of thousands of troops and calls from the Indian Prime Minister for calm. Anti-India sentiment runs deep in Kashmir, which is divided between Hindu-majority India and predominantly Muslim Pakistan, but claimed by both in its entity. Protesters reject Indian sovereignty over Kashmir, a majority Muslim region, and want independence or a merger with Pakistan. Recent unrest in Indian-administered Kashmir is reminiscent of the late 1980s when protests against New Delhi's rule sparked an armed conflict that has so far killed more than 68,000 people, mostly civilians. The ceasefire is generally holding between the hostile neighbors who have fought 2 wars over the control of Kashmir since they won independence from Britain in 1947. More foreign aid arrives in Pakistan today, this time on a plane from Uzbekistan. The aid arrived on an Uzbek government plane that landed in Chaklala Air Base in Rawalpindi. The government representatives who accompanied the flight said that the president and the people of Uzbekistan expressed their deepest condolences to the whole of Pakistan.
The Rais Malhan, the United Nations World Food Programme, distributed food aid to those in desperate need. The United Nations has appealed for $460 million in emergency assistance, and the US has promised $150 million. Pakistan said it would even accept $5 million in aid from India, its arch-rival. The floods began in late July in the northwest of the country after exceptionally heavy monsoon rains, expanding rivers that have since swamped eastern Punjab province and Sindh province in the south. A slew of aid groups have been trying to help the government in its relief effort by providing food, medicine, shelter and other crucial assistance. Poor weather and the destruction of roads and bridges have hindered the distribution. Around 150,000 Pakistanis were forced to move to higher ground as floodwaters from a freshly swollen Indus River submerged dozens more towns and villages in the south on Saturday. Officials expect the floodwaters nationwide will recede in the next few days as the last river torrents empty into the Arabian Sea. Survivors may find little left when they return home. However, the waters have washed away houses, roads, bridges and crops vital to livelihoods. Already 600,000 people were in relief camps set up in Sindh province during the flooding over the past month. At one relief camp in Sukur, 32-year-old Allah Rakhi gave birth to a baby girl without any medical assistance. Allah was forced to leave her home in Jacobabad for the camp in Sukur after the floodwaters washed away her home and all her belongings. Other victims at the same camp described with desperation the chaos and scramble for food parcels dropped off by relief trucks. As the latest surge approached on Saturday, Jamil Sumro, a spokesman for the provincial government, said authorities have evacuated more than 150,000 people from interior parts of Sindh in the past 24 hours.